And here we go. In just a second, should be coming up about now on the Monday again.
It is
Yeah, we're
Monday
live.
again.
Yeah, we are live.
We are back, everybody. I'm just double checking over here to get everybody up on screen so that whenever we're talking, I can answer your questions along the way. But Mr. William, as you said, it is Monday again, and we have another
Lightning fast.
topic. Yeah, it went by just like that. It does
I'm
every
just
week.
thinking, yeah, I know it does, but I'm just thinking that this warp speed, I don't want to get that fast in my life. I mean, I'm enjoying my life, but on it. Let's decompress the time frame, not increase it and compress it.
I I would love for it to slow down. I would. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen as much as we
Oh,
would like for it to. So,
oh, we get to make it happen. We get the
well, that is
choice.
true. We do get to do that. I've had that conversation many times today, and reminding people you get to in that conversation. And I know we'll talk some more about that today. So,
Well, that
welcome back,
kind of
everyone.
it does relate to the topic a little bit because it's about stewardship
It
again.
does. It does.
Hmm.
So, again, welcome back, YouTube. We appreciate you guys being here with us. We hope that along the way here, as you come in, jump into our chat. Tonight, we're going to continue our conversation in stewardship, but before we do that, please go and hit that subscribe button so that you know when we are live, because we are also here on Thursday nights where Mindful Nuggets sponsors the 90-day devotional. And our co-host on that show is Ms. Melanie Goodwin, which is William's wife. So she leads us each Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, in our 90-day devotional. And you're invited. So join our community out on Facebook at the 90-day devotional. Come in on Thursday nights. Be a part of our conversation. We'd love to have you. All right, Mr. William, tonight we're continuing this conversation on stewardship. We just talked about how you get to. So, why don't you let everybody know what we're talking about tonight, exactly what this title's all about tonight, and why?
Right. Okay. Well, let's first, please do support us so we can get this out to other people. We're here to be travelers with a light to help other people walk with us in a journey that will bring fruit into your life, peace and joy, and bring some balance in your life and alignment to God. So please do that. Today, is going to be about stewardship under opposition. And last week, in this title, Don't Come Off the Wall. And it's going to be about Nehemiah, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. But it applies to everyday's life. It's timeless, and it'll apply to tomorrow just as much as it did today as it did yesterday. It doesn't change. And it is very interesting. Once you observe this, it's a pattern that has been in place since the beginning of time. But most of us aren't taught how to protect our garden. So last week we talked about protection, and we also talked about a little bit of correction and how we were able to get the garden to grow and steward it. But a lot of times that doesn't stop the enemy coming out to come get your food and take it out of your garden. And sometimes people don't even mean to. They might trample through your garden and not mean to on it. So we want to expand a little bit further on this. I don't think we're finished with stewardship because it's really the biggest component of our life that we're entrusted with by God. He's the owner of everything, and he entrusts us with our lives, entrusts us with things that are in our life that we need to be good stewards of. And a lot of times we do a lousy job of it, including me on it. And this is something we get to learn. You don't know how to respond to something you're not taught on it. So if you're not taught how to respond to be a good steward, well, chances are you'll be a lousy steward. And if, like I said, like I have been in the past, I'm still working on it too today. And it takes a lot of practice, but it is important in our lives. So we want to look at several verses in this, and it's going to tie in pretty good. So God didn't begin creation with a city. He began with garden. He started with the garden, and he taught Adam how to take care of the garden and steward the garden. The gardens produce the fruit. Fruit fills the table. Table gathers people. This is an important part because I think we pulled away from that a lot over these last several decades. It's very rare do we have families sit at a table and have dinner anymore. Very
That is
rare that we
very
go to
rare.
the very rare that we go for our local farmers or I grow it ourselves and we put it on our own table on it. This is
Well, I
very
think
important.
families have just gotten so far removed from what it is supposed to be, which is a time, again, to be at the table and be in gratitude of the food that is in front of you, to ask for his blessings and be grateful that he's provided. That's what sitting down at the table is supposed to be about. I mean, I love this conversation. We're gonna have a great one tonight
Well,
because
we're not talking about a lot of things, but
this
here
is
here's
this is part of being in stewardship. You put your
mhm.
children at the table, the adults are at the table, you ask for that blessing, you be grateful for what he gave you, because let me tell you what, he can take it away as quickly as he put it on the table.
That's a fact.
It can disappear.
Here's the relationship, and the key word is relationship.
Right.
You're a son or daughter of the Most High. You're heir to the kingdom, but there's responsibility with the kingdom. All right. But the problem is most of us don't have a relationship. And relationship always precedes responsibility. But on this planet, we'd like to have responsibility before we have any relationship or have a relationship at all.
Right.
So with
Absolutely.
that, yeah. So with that being said, you actually sit down and have a relationship with your kids, or your kids have a relationship with you. I mean, honestly ask that question because if the responsibility comes before the relationship, we got it backwards. And when we have it backwards, we're not aligned with God and things don't work out so well when we do that. I'm living proof of it, and so is Michelle.
And that
All right.
means take the phones away from the table too, because you need to be in, again, be in that stewardship of that, command that table, because that's what he wants. No phones at the table, conversation at the table, speaking upon him at that table. Those are things that, are totally lost and gone in today's world.
All right, that's protecting.
Right.
That's protecting what is valuable. Because what you're creating at the table is that relationship. And if it's aligned with God, you're creating a legacy that's going to carry from your seed to their seed to the future seed that's coming. If you lose
Absolutely.
that, then you lose alignment. And then that's where you get the chaos. That's where you're getting all these divisions in between children, parents, relationships with friends. It's chaotic and it's sometimes just flat out brutal. And there's a lot of hate that generates from that. It's all because the relationship got broken because we broke it with God.
Mhm.
Now we broke it with our kids.
And it
All right. So
continues.
this,
That's why we want to stop that. So
yeah.
we can
So
see that.
this is coming. Let's pull up a chair, sit at the table. You're welcome. There's always room for one more in my house
Absolutely.
because it's a safe place, a place that we can have conversation and build relationships. And that's where it starts. And it starts in every household. You switch that to that philosophy right now. I'm not trying to get on my preacher's stand to talk, but it's so serious that you don't think you can change anything in this life. Yes, you can. You can bring your family together and put them at the table and build that relationship. Play cards together, play a game, have food together, break bread, spend that time, invest that time. Don't spend it, invest it. Spending's the wrong thing. Spending
Well,
is
I
what we've
say,
been
yeah,
doing.
spending's the wrong word there. It's
Yeah,
it's
spending's well,
invested.
we've
Yeah,
been wasting time.
right.
Invest it into your family.
Yeah,
So I
invested.
want to go back to Genesis 2:15. The Lord took the man, put him into the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. Two things, if you notice: work it, keep it,
And keep it.
cultivate, to work it, guard, keep it. That's discernment tells us how to do that. Nothing's changed since that words were spoken at the time. That means this is a fallen world. You don't have to guard the things that are of value, not the money, not the things that are in your house, not the things that you like to play. Your
Okay, may or may
relationship
not, okay, but may or may not be relevant. You say that, God gave Adam two responsibilities.
too, but the
But did he,
relationship existed first.
Okay, that is true, but I'm asking before the apple or after the apple for the responsibilities. There was a relationship even before that.
Well, and 2:15 is before.
Okay.
3 is where the fall happened. Okay.
I'll say, okay. Just I want to clarify so that
Yeah.
everybody who comes back and
In
tries to
3,
say,
in 3 is when the fall happened. But that's anyway, we can talk about that later. But this is
yep,
the relationship, the work, the communion existed before the fall. Okay. There's nothing changed today. That's the same order that God expects of us to work it, align with Him, get the discernment, get the wisdom, go to the field, do what He asked you to do. He's one teaches you how to build the garden. All right. You steward the garden, you protect the garden. He gives you the abundance, the crop, the harvest. And that's His responsibility, not yours. Because you didn't design the seed. This was from last week. You didn't make the seed, you didn't make the soil. But you can plow the soil, you put nutrients in the soil, you plant His seed in the soil. You can tend that, you can cultivate that, but He's responsible for the growth and what you get from that. And a lot of this has to do with faithfulness. So
I like how you
stewardship's
said that. I like how you said that because Max asked me tonight, how did the beans get in the green beans?
that's great.
My answer was God put them there.
That's it. God made the seed.
That's my answer. God created the green bean. God put the beans inside the green bean. He's the creator of all.
And
These
it's
are
that simple.
conversations that we have at our table.
And which is a great thing because it gives you the creation part of how the world came to be.
Right.
It's not that
Right.
the green bean, most kids ask what, chicken or the egg
Right.
first. Okay.
Max is
Well,
putting two to two together.
yeah, he's putting two to get together, but we want to know where the beginning is. Okay. And
Right.
this is the beginning. Beginning is actually Genesis, but before Genesis, John 1 establishes what happens next in Genesis. In the beginning, okay, was the word. So that's the actually time construct that puts Genesis in play when it was spoken into existence. Now, going back to stewardship, I want you to know something. There's 3 things we just talked about. We talked about cultivate, guard, and discernment, right?
Absolutely.
Isn't that 3?
Yeah.
You notice one can't exist without the other. And then if you notice they're 3 and they're 3 in alignment with God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm talking about a system. When you start getting close to God, you notice systems, and you know systems everywhere and how they tie them together. But you really start identifying them in primes, especially in 3, with Him. So cultivate, grow what God entrusted to you. He gave you the seed, and the seed is really you and your family. Everything external begins internal. It's the relationship, and it's relationship with Him first, and then with your family. The faith is you cultivate your faith. Faith is active. It's not dormant. You can believe something, but it'll never get the garden tilled up. You believe the tree will grow, but if you don't plant the seed and have faith that it's going to grow, it's never going to grow because it's all in the mind. It never made it out. Your health, we cultivate your health. You cultivate your calling. You cultivate your business. You cultivate your marriage. You cultivate the truth. And the truth is God. Not He has the truth. He is the truth. Then the next part is guarding. Protect what God entrusted to you, not because we're afraid, but because we love what produces life. You like to live, don't you?
I do.
If you
I hope everybody else
okay,
does
okay,
too.
all right. What somebody threatens you, you want to guard your life, right? All right.
100%.
Okay, well that's part of it. Discernment. That's where most of us get missed. We miss the boat because there's actually a matrix of discernment that God gives us to be able to test the things that come at you. And Nehemiah is one of them we're going to talk about here in just a second. Discern is to recognize what belongs and what threatens, and how the Father is inviting us to respond to that. not what we respond to it, but what the Father, God, tells you to respond about. And this is where we're getting ready to go into. So why Nehemiah? I can tell you Nehemiah wasn't passionate about building a wall, but he did recognize something. That wall in Jerusalem had been destroyed. The doors have been burnt off. The walls have been broken down. The Israelites are there. All right. So they're rebuilding. They're building their garden. They're cultivating your garden. But the big thing is they had no protection. Back in that day, you built walls to protect, to keep things out. And that wall's not present. And he was very passionate about the fact that they needed something to protect them now and protect them for future generations. And the mission wasn't getting stones built. The mission was the people. It was the relationship. He's protecting relationship what God's about to reestablish. And God commissioned Nehemiah to handle it because of his skill sets, his dedication. And God knew that he was not going to come off the wall. He would get over it and get it done. All right, so if we look at this from a pattern, you have the garden where we cultivate stuff. We have a wall protection. We get to harvest it, and then we get to bring it to the table. So it goes back to cultivate, guard, and discern. So that's the pattern here. And that pattern exists all throughout time. Question is, are you working in his pattern? And that's a great checkpoint for your life. Because if you're not getting fruit out of your life, this is one of the things you want to go back and say, let's do a systems check. Like that's flying an aircraft, for example. We have a checklist. We go outside, we go around the plane, make sure everything's moving properly, the rivets in place, check the fuel, make sure that's what's in it, it's what the gauge says, we check the oil, blah, blah, blah. And we're satisfied that we get into the cockpit, then we can go fire it up. We fire it up in a sequence, in a particular sequence, so you don't blow out your radio or fry some electrical components. And there's a proper order to get it up and get the engine up. And then you got another sequence to taxi out, then do another run up to make sure it works under pressure. Then you proceed to the field, and then you call in, and then you head out. But all those things are sequence. Everything God has for your life is ordered in sequence. And the patterns you fall into that produces fruit. You don't have to try to produce it. You're not supposed to produce it. Most of us go around trying to produce it and make fruit happen. That was never our responsibility. We need to be attached to the vine that provides the life that has the seed that produces fruit. We just let that flow through us. We're supposed to steward that flow. That's our only job. And let the seeds come, let them grow. And then when they're harvested, the seeds go back in the ground. Guess what? Over time, if you remain aligned with him and faithful to him, you will start with one tree, you'll end up with an orchard. Then you got a legacy to leave behind. All right, so going back to every stewardship faces opposition. The closer Nehemiah came to finishing the work, the more the attacks came, but they didn't come on, they came on straightforward, but first they were very obvious. But as it went along, the enemy was getting clever and it made it a lot more subtle as time. And I want you to really, really hear me out and pay attention to this because it matters, because these attacks happen every day. And you may not be aware of it. So attack one, what do you think it is, Michelle?
And the story of Nehemiah?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't remember unless I pull up my Bible to take a look. I'm not as versed in it as you are.
It's okay. All right. The first thing I say, I am going to build a business. What's the first thing you hear when you go and tell people that you're going to build a successful business? What do they do?
Oh, a lot of people laugh at you and say, oh yeah, right, okay, sure, whatever. You know,
mockery.
Very, very negative, yes.
Mockery. Okay. So the enemy's strategy there is really to undermine your confidence. Like, yeah, right, you're not going to do that. You're not capable of it. You don't know enough. You're crazy. Whatever, whatever the replies. So they go around and they say, man, y'all ain't going to get that wall built. You're insane. Why are you even bother? And
but so that's the story throughout all of Nehemiah is how that wall is not going to be built. Yeah.
Right. It is. It is exactly. Well, that's the enemy's desire, not for him to build that wall, because that wall means the enemy's not to be able to get in to infiltrate and disrupt. So this isn't the people so much. This is about spiritual warfare that is working through people to put them into these different attacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is, same today. All right.
I mean,
So
it's in everything today if you're paying attention.
it is. It's not about flesh and bones.
Mm.
It's about the principalities, and there are two of them. The one already won, is already victorious. The other one's still coming at it until his time ends.
Right.
But during that time, we still got to discern, guard, and cultivate in our life. Discernment matters here because the enemy comes at you in these 5 different ways. And we need to pay attention. How do you respond to that? All right. So the enemy strategy will first attack is like, y'all crazy ain't going to be able to do it. There's no way. I think if I remember, the verse says the fox climb up and knock the wall down.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty feeble wall if a fox can knock it over. So they're questioning their confidence. They're questioning that you start questioning your identity. You start questioning your confidence is what I mean. You question your calling. Who do you think you really are? Do you really think I can build that wall? Well, some people will start really questioning, get in their head and believe that they're not qualified to do that. And they'll stop.
Absolutely.
A lot of people's dreams and visions get squashed right there.
And that's because they have no confidence in where they're going and what they're doing. And most of the time, to be fair, a lot of people just don't have the support. Oh, you're going to be another one of those.
Well, that's
And
part of
that
it.
negativity breeds into our thought process.
Okay, well, this goes back to your earlier conversation is getting the field prepared and getting in the
Right.
right field to be planted that will
Right.
nurture you, going back to your support idea. And we don't know to look for that because we've got a mindset of this to create, but we hadn't cleaned out all the junk that's kept us behind for all
Mm-hmm.
these years, or been in a situation where we could learn the proper ways and know how to maneuver. A lot of when we say we go into business, most of us don't have the business expertise or know how to maneuver in business, how to create a business. They take a talent and they take a desire and a wish and hopefully, be your own boss or whatever it is, but they don't have a mind of a CEO when they go into business. And most people don't because they're not groomed for that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And now I started that way. I didn't have a mind for a CEO because you're trained to get a job for most of your life, for most of us. And it takes time. But the real thing is you need to be around people who have already cultivated a garden and show you how to build that garden first. And they teach you how to get the soil ready. And you start finding people that you need to be associated with that can help you get the soil ready. And that's here as much more so than out here because this has got to be straight first. And it's got to be aligned here in order for this to work and for this to come after and then for be born.
I
So
hope somebody's listening tonight because this is where you need to be tonight, right here, hearing exactly how, you're in the gap. Right. And that's what William's talking about tonight
mhm.
is just exactly if you're hearing this and this is resonating with you, you're in the gap. We're going to talk more about that.
So Nehemiah's response, because I know we only have about 30 minutes left to really
Yeah, we're
crank through
good.
this, and there's quite a bit.
We may have to make
Yeah,
another night.
we could. And we may have to have part two, and that's totally fine.
All
But
right.
Nehemiah's response is very, very interesting. And a lot of us get part of this right, and some of us don't. He prayed. This always goes
Exactly
back to
what he
seek the
did.
kingdom first. Always seek the kingdom first in all things. All things. And then he turned around and went back to work. He
Mhm.
didn't say a word. He didn't respond.
No, he didn't argue. He didn't complain. He didn't defend anyone in particular. I mean, he literally just went right back to it. He went
He
and
ignored
spoke
it.
to God and ignored everything that was around him, and he went right back to what he was doing.
No attention to the mockery. It didn't
Mhm.
exist. And so much of us spend a lot of time defending ourselves over something that means nothing. Exactly what the enemy wants. They want a reaction. He did not give a reaction. Now, I want to bring in something from Acts 6, and Paul talks about spiritual armor. And if you don't know about the armor of God, please go visit Acts 6 and read it. I would go through it tonight, but we don't have enough bandwidth and time to be able to cover all the details. But I'm going to point out the armor of God that's spiritual that we should be wearing during this time. and what components work in these scenarios. Because what Nehemiah is talking about is external. What Paul's talking about is stewarding the body, is what Nehemiah is doing. And Paul's talking about stewarding the spirit. All these must be together. They can't be apart. All right. So the armor of God in this instance is the shield of faith. And why the shield of faith? Because it blocks those fiery darts that are being fired off, smart aleck comments, things to cause harm. They're words. Words do hurt. They undermine. If words spoke the universe together or spoke universe into existence, well, you don't think words can't hurt you too? They hurt worse than bones when being broke, because you carry them for a long time. A lot of us do. Some of us don't, but a lot of us do. Helmet of salvation. Well, it protects the identity of the person. So faith, the shield of faith, blocks the arrows, the identity, the helmet of salvation protects your identity, because you remember who do you belong to? You don't belong to these people. I'll call them idiots because they're doing stuff like that, because they're judging. They're judging you because they have a belief that you can't do it, and that's judgment. They have no business, but they do it anyway. Most of us do it. Don't even think
It's
about it.
interesting you're discussing this, because I had a client today that, was very much not supported and is very much into, very much into Jesus and her faith. And that was the first thing I told her. Who are you going to believe? You? Or are you going to believe them? Which one? Because I'm pretty sure that you've overcome a lot of obstacles and you've done it all on your own, while the chatter was still sitting out here. You still made things happen.
What are you giving authority to is your bigger question.
Exactly. Exactly.
Are you giving it to the mockery, or are you giving it to God? Who don't you think God for one instance can take care of that mocker? Yeah, he can.
He has, if you're paying attention, he
Attention.
has.
Yeah. Okay. So don't let it attack your ego or your confidence. Somebody's going to mock you. They're not you. If you have a vision given by God, follow him and do what he asks and ignore that. Okay. All right. Moving on. Attack 2. This is Nehemiah 4:7 through 23. Now we're getting physical. Threats and fear. The enemy's strategy, well, if I can't get their goat by making them feel bad about themselves or getting them into a fight by calling them names, well, I'm going to escalate this and start creating fear, and I'm going to create uncertainty, and I'm going to stop the work before it even gets going. Fear stops a lot of people. The unknown stops a lot of people. How did Nehemiah handle this? Okay, this is somebody coming out saying, I'm gonna knock you off the wall.
I say he did arm himself, and he armed his
Very
people.
Good. Okay, he prayed first.
He did pray first. That he
Right,
did do, like we should always go back and do first. We should always turn to God first, because he'll give you the answer. And in that sense, his answer was to arm his people.
God, these people are coming after us. Now, I want you to notice something here too that most people miss. Nehemiah's asking for protection.
He is asking for protection, yes.
Okay. Well, while the wall's being built, God put up a wall.
Right.
If God desires it to be done, there'll be a wall of protection around you. No matter what the enemy does, they don't have the authority to stop it. Only if you don't allow yourself to get involved with it. Yeah. If you stay true to God, God will protect it. You'll get it done. No matter what it is. It's not just a wall. It's anything in your life. If there's a vision planted and it is meant for you to have that vision completed, and your mission is to get it done, and you start in the execution of getting it completed, God will put up the necessary barriers to keep the enemy off your back. Now, you may be taunted, you may be threatened, but the enemy is doing that on purpose to get you to stop, but they have no authority to take you down. So this is what
if it's his will, it will be.
It will get done. So he prayed first, then he posted guards. Some worked with one hand carrying supplies, but they had the swords with them.
That's right.
And they protected each other. They prayed and they persevered through this. Okay. So, we're going back into the garden again, cultivate, guard. And sometimes you got to put something out there to watch the garden, post a guard, camera, or something so you can see what's going on. But that's still guarding,
Or a sheepdog
protecting,
right at the edge.
or sheepdog. Yeah, whatever it is. But yeah,
Whatever you need.
but you got to put something out there to protect your crop. He's protecting his building, the wall. It has to get completed. God put the responsibility, the burden, which is handed over. His burden is light. Nehemiah was designed to get this completed. It was not somebody that didn't know how to build. It's somebody who knew how to cultivate resources, get them together logistically, and execute it in a very efficient manner. Nehemiah was perfect for this position. Mm-hmm. So the burden was light. Didn't mean it was without responsibility and without priorities. It meant that it was not a big deal for him to get this done.
I want to point out something though, because I had a really good friend that said, read Nehemiah 3 times. Told me to read it 3 times because there'd be something I'd learn differently every time. And that is 100% true. I did. But the thing about it is Nehemiah never once came across stressed or frustrated or showed anger. Moses showed anger. Moses, you can feel in the story of that anger's there, that defiance is there. But in Nehemiah,
But he did pay for that.
He did
There
pay
was
for that. That's
consequences
right.
to his anger.
Okay. You're absolutely true. That's absolutely correct. But Nehemiah was always at peace. I noticed this. He was always at peace. And keep in mind, like you said earlier, he always went to God before he had a response to what was going to take place, right?
Nehemiah was very much aligned with God.
Absolutely. And that's that fruit of the spirit that we're talking about.
Yes, the peace. He knew that there will be threats. He knew there would be challenges. He knew that he had something bigger on his side, and that was God. And he knew that this will get done with God with him through the whole thing. That's the thing we got to remember in life. God never left Nehemiah.
No,
He
and I
never
mean,
leaves us.
and Nehemiah never left God. I mean, he was
Nope.
truly in alignment with God 100%. He knew where his father was at all times and how to go and speak to him and be in his presence. And he knew God would respond and give him the information he needed to move forward to get this wall built.
Right. Well, there's a wise man will seek heaven first. He will seek God first. A wise man will seek him. The beginning of awe in the Lord. We use fear in the English a lot, but it's really awe. It's not fear that we're scared to death of him, but we're in awe of him.
Right.
That's where wisdom begins, because we know our place with him. And we're not God, and we're not in control. And he is.
As
And he
much as we
saw,
would like to be in control.
and he
And I know I'm
designed us,
talking to
and
somebody.
he knows everything about humanity.
That's
And he
right.
knows the kingdom, how it works. So it makes sense to ask your dad first, because he's going to give you a good, straight answer. Unlike some of us here on earth, he will answer you correctly and truthfully. All right. Now we understand that. Let's go back to the armor of this. Shoes of peace. Sometimes deterrent is weapons. You arm yourself, you let them know business, but you keep the peace. They didn't start a fight, did they?
No,
They
no,
didn't
they
go
didn't.
after him, but they let him know that they were serious about their business.
Yeah.
But they're not going to stir up any trouble. So the shoes of peace, shield of faith. Again, they're throwing fear out. They're blocking the darts. Peace keeps us steady. The faith keeps us moving. All right. So that makes sense.
Does to me. I hope everybody
Right.
it does out there to everybody else tonight. So
Okay, so just to make this simple, the steward's response to this situation. This is attack 2. We still got 3 more to go. About 15 minutes or about 20
we may have
minutes.
to make a part 2 into next week. So
all right. So the steward's response is to pray first. Always, we got that right. Prepare. protect, continue building. He did not come off the wall. He didn't chase after an enemy to run him off, but he stood his ground. And with God, he tells us to stand our ground. We're not capable of going forward to attack Satan. He's a lot more powerful than us. But God says, stand your ground. I'll do the rest. Nehemiah stood his ground and went back to the wall building. And they weren't attacked. A lot of people throw fear out there, folks, to intimidate you, to scare you, to get you to react. But it's vanity. It's fear to get you distracted. They don't carry it out. Some do. I'm not saying anybody don't, but most of the time is to get you to stop and to fall in line with what their desires are that they want from you. And that's it.
Well, and I'll give you a perfect example of that. There's many people out here today that will be in the corner saying, why don't you just go get a job? Why are you continuing to think that you have this passion? Why don't you just go get a job? Go get that 9 to 5 where you have a secure paycheck, insurance, 401k. Again, that's that programming.
That's a settle for attitude. When you have a real vision, that's not ever going to be, you will never be at peace with yourself when that happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can go get a job, but what are you trading your time for?
Mm-hmm.
Is that truly what you want out of your life? If you're meant for something more? Not everybody's gonna build a business. I get that, and some of you aren't get jobs, and that's fine. And I hope it's a job that you're aligned with, and you get to enjoy your job.
But let's be mindful about that as well. Do you really enjoy your job?
70%,
Are you
70% don't. They don't.
So what are you
And
trading in for that? What are you losing
security.
also?
See, okay, so you're basically trading your life away for a paycheck and security.
Absolutely.
It's because uncertainty scares everybody.
Right.
And not everybody's trained to be a CEO of a business. So if you're not trained to be a CEO of business, it makes logical sense to go back to what you know. Egypt, for example, they left, they went with God, then they got scared, it was uncertain, and they wanted to go back to slavery because they felt comfortable there and safe. They knew they'd get fed.
Yep.
That's the same thing as a job.
Knew they wouldn't have to meet too many trials or tribulations either, as long as they did what they were told.
Until the job goes away.
Until it goes away and it's done, and then where do you go from there?
Okay, so
Who's feeding you then?
that's another lesson. Go to Solomon and no, I can't. Escalate. Oh my gosh, I'm having a problem saying that.
Ecclesiastes.
Thank you, Ecclesiastes. I
You're
don't
good.
know why I get so tongue tied
I don't
on
know why
that.
it came to me, but I can usually mess it up too.
Yeah, please. And that really means somebody that's going up to speak and to pronounce to other people the way of things that make sense. So it tells you never lean on one. You 7 and yes 8 streams of revenue. We have 401k. My 401k goes down probably by the time you lose your job. So that and then you get a penalty taking it out on top of it. So what was up here now is way down here, and you're devalued on it, and then you need that money to be able to stand past 6 months, whatever, find something that you can rebuild your life with, or you come back up here. But it always seems at the worst time everything goes down. And okay, so but I don't have revenue streams 3, 4, 5, and 6 or 7 that says this goes down, then that's okay. This will provide just fine, and we'll work on this, get it up here. But most of us have been trained to stay in that narrow bandwidth, and then we get trapped. And it's never good. So just saying. All right, attack 3. This one really is dangerous. Okay, the other ones are dangerous too, but this one's internally dangerous. Discouragement. Okay, so if you're going to imagine, all right, we got mockery, we got threats, and we're getting tired. We're midway. All right, so the mission, the beginning of the mission, yeah, I'm all pumped. Let's do this. Let's get that wall back. I understand why, but going halfway through this wall building, so maybe day 25 out of 51 that took to build wall, you're tired. You're putting everything you and you wonder why you're even doing this now. Okay. And these little voices over here are starting to get into here. This is a leadership issue that has to be dealt with, and leaders know how to deal with this. And it's not something that you skirt under the rug or dismiss, because it's very serious, because you'll find these workers quitting on you. Then the wall's not going to get built. Okay. Way Nehemiah handled this. He prayed again. but you reminded them why we're building this. All right. And he pointed to the families, the children, the reason why we're here, to remind these folks we're not doing this for ourselves. I know it's tough. I know it's hard, but we're going to get through this. But you got to remember why we're building this. He brought the families near so the workers can intermake it. So maybe the women would bring them a little bit of lunch or something. The kids would come and they would see the children. He acknowledged the struggle. The struggle's real. What he did not do was shame them, punish them. You're not performing. Like today, a lot of people, a lot of corporations do that. You're not performing. You're away from your family, and you're getting discouraged. They care less about that. If you don't perform, you're fired.
I don't know
There's
any
no
job today that doesn't have a performance rating to it to some degree. Even nurses have a performance rating. Doctors have a performance rating.
well, performance is good to sharpen the tools. There's nothing wrong with that, but something should precede the performance, the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can always perform better. We can make tweaks, but if your livelihood's dependent on performance, if you don't performance, it's a scale that says you start here and then as you go along, you go down here and eventually you're out.
Right.
There's never the one that goes up. There's always one that goes down. I know some places work right, but there's a lot of things that don't work right. And that's why a lot of people get exasperated and they get tired and exhausted in their job. They're wondering why they're there. They get burnt out. And that's when things start, you start destroying the tree that produces the fruit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you forget the reason why you began to start.
Yeah. But Nehemiah didn't, this is true leadership. He said, okay, let's stop. Listen up. I know it. I recognize it. I see it. I'm a little bit exhausted myself, but you know what? That little kid right there deserves to have some sort of protection.
Right.
Right? He hadn't got to live yet. We have. Now let's tune in. This is the reason why we're doing this. Let's gather in. All right. In the military, before you go on the mission, you get in the huddle and you say, is there anything stopping you? Anything that's causing you some grief? Anything that is going to distract you from completing the mission? Let's have a talk about it. It's a family. We get together, we talk about this. And getting that burden off your shoulders is a tremendous thing. He allowed them to, or he gave space for them to have some sort of input about how they felt. And he addressed that. And he led from that point. He related to that point. He let them know honestly the truth. But we have to finish this. We're committed. We're going to finish this, and we'll do it together. That's a leader. Previous in his time, he built up by managing different things and learned how to lead. He didn't know immediately. A lot of us don't know how to lead. We have to be taught on it. So, how do you lead your life when things come up and you get discouraged or your children get discouraged? You're at work and you have a team that's discouraged. How do you handle that?
Well, the question is, do you step up and take the leadership role, or do you sit back and watch it crumble or continue to crumble? Where are you the steward?
Yeah.
Many people
I'll
will
talk to
sit
you about
back
that in a
and
minute.
say, not my, I always like to say, not my monkey, not my circus. That's a lot of people. But
Right.
in
But
many ways, there's a role there for you to play. Whether you're going to step up and be in that stewardship is a different story. I have
not
to
my
ask
monkey,
everybody,
not
who
my.
you turn into first?
But I don't know any real leaders that say that. Right? It may not be something I can give attention to, but I might redirect you to a different resource. But lack of care is not leadership. Quite the
That's
opposite.
absolutely correct. I see since COVID, I see a real lack of leadership. I see many individuals stepping in and saying, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm not going to take the battle on. I'm not going to do any more than what is necessary. We've lost that whole role that was once a very strong one in many people because we stepped so far away from God, we don't know where we're supposed to be.
I think, Michelle, that's been true for quite some time now. But what I do see is an awakening that's coming and it's changed. We've gone in a pendulum that's way over here to the point where God usually intervenes. And, it could be Solomon. I mean, Gomorrah, just boom, Sodom and
Hmm.
Gomorrah. It could be, the flood, which he promised he wouldn't be. But we've gotten so far away from God, chaos has prevailed. And when that happens, we actually capitulate and collapse.
Yeah.
Something breaks. And God allows that to happen. So we realize our dependency on Him because we have gotten to the point where we're so self independent in our own self righteousness
Hmm.
that we're sovereign, the one sovereign on our own seat, and God's not. And say, okay, if you think you run this show, let's see what happens. Well, I think we're seeing the evidence
We are.
of those actions and decisions that we're making for some time now and seeing how chaotic it's got. And, human value is not worth anything anymore a lot of times. And that gets to a point of desperation. There's no hope. Then things break. Then God intervenes and says, okay, you did it your way, you're ready to go my way.
Hmm.
The answer is yes, because I mean, that's where I went. And I realized that I was a fool. I mean, I'll just be straight honest for even attempting that. But sometimes we got to learn the hard way.
So we have a comment. God always keeps a small group of his believers when the world gets too corrupt of
The
self.
remnant, the remnant. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely. It's never extinguished. It never has been in any of the time periods throughout history, but it has been a pendulum. I mean, go back to Nero. He burned followers of Christ on stakes on the walkway to his palace, lit them up.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that. Not you being there, but even seeing it. You know, so that I mean that was how would you feel? That is real fear because that he didn't care. He would put you to death.
Hmm.
And we get that way. The world's all go that way. In Revelations, it does go that way. But
Well, we're already seeing that take place today in
we're seeing
today's
that take
world.
place. But the thing is, it's
We
still
have
pendulum.
time though to fix it. We do have time.
We exactly because there's always opportunity to repent and go back the other way, and I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
I don't know, if he's going to come tomorrow or not. I'm prepared for if he comes, and I'll be glad if he does. But if he doesn't, then the people who or the travelers that are carrying the light or the homes that we're sitting at are the ones that are going to make the difference to move the pendulum the other way.
Right.
Our generation may have done a lot of wrong, but while we're still alive, we can do what we can to make things right. And the way you make it right is line with God. And then you start getting other people around the table that you're at and let them experience God and see that He does care for them and love them. Things
It
change.
is amazing. I will have to say the past 2 years, that I started my journey, surrendering. It took me to surrender before, the journey began, really in a nutshell. It was a surrendering point and then the journey
Mm-hmm.
began and I made a commitment. As it's continued, I don't have too many people surrounding me that are not believers and are, not following that path. So
You
he
got
will
tired of
put
growing a
you in
garden
a
that had no
line.
fruit.
Right. Well, that's just it. He saw that there was no fruit, producing, and he called me back and said, "Look, you want the fruit, you want the peace, you want the joy, you want that alignment. You need to be talking to me and you need to be in my word." That was a real conversation that was had. And that's
It's
the
just that
conversation.
simple, too.
It is
Really.
that simple. I mean, it's really amazing to me how many people I've talked to And like I asked a young lady the other night, what brought you back to God's word when you were heading over to the witchcraft side? And that's exactly what was going on. She made it very clear she was heading over into the witchcraft side. That's where she was going. That was what she felt, that was her way. And she said there was just a real, I'm just going to say a real awakening. And she knew at that point that who was talking to her, and she knew it was God talking to her. And as she said, she knew she wasn't in stewardship. She knew that she needed to surrender at that moment, or it was not. And again, why did it have to go that far? So again, people take things like their health. They take their health to the furthest point before they even say, I'm ready to step into what can be.
I think we like to be in control because of our own
100%.
will. Yeah, and we think we know better, and then we drift. I can give you a good example. A 14-year-old, 13-year-old knows a lot of things now, but he knows it. He thinks he knows a lot. I think he knows more than he thinks he knows. And he goes to apply certain things, but when he goes to apply it, it doesn't fit the entire picture.
Hmm.
So he may say something or work on something or do something with that information, and then something breaks and didn't realize that would happen. But he thought he knew everything. The arrogance of it, the pride of it. Now this is teenage
We all
years
do at
going on.
13 and 14.
Okay. All right. So everything's not black and white.
No, it's not.
As you grow older, you see that just because you know a lot doesn't mean you can apply it, and you may not know the whole story, which is really the case. You don't know the whole story. You only know a picture that's in a puzzle piece in the puzzle that fit there, but that puzzle piece doesn't apply over here. It won't fit,
Mm.
and you don't know why. But when you come to these things and your puzzle's falling apart, it never fits, works, you get frustrated. Then you realize maybe I need some help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And the goal tonight of this conversation is one, we hope it's resonating with you tonight,
Mhm.
and that you're in this conversation with your own self of, maybe it's time. Maybe I need to have that conversation with him, because I can promise you when I was out of alignment, there was chaos. And it was just something every day. I look back, and I've written numerous, journals on this. It was just chaos. It was just something every day. Something went wrong every single day. I could name numerous things that could go wrong. And it just got to the point where I just knew I needed to say, okay, it's all you. I'm turning it all over to you. You tell me which way to go, because from here, I don't know where to go.
It's a very simple thing. When we unplug from God, we're chaotic in nature because of our flesh,
Absolutely.
and it's hard to overcome the flesh and stay in the spirit because we're built of the flesh. We operate in the flesh, and it takes a lot of effort to stay into the spirit, and it takes a lot of dedication and knowing God to be able to remain there. But as soon as you unplug, you're a battery that's depleted, and
Yep,
eventually it's down to zero unless you plug back out.
that's
And
right.
so the more it happens, the more in electrical circuits, the more the voltage drops, the more chaotic the circuit goes. And eventually it gets where it doesn't function at all, or maybe even just burn up from drawing too much current and short. And
That can
humans are no
happen.
different. Humans are no different, believe it or
I
not.
mean, isn't that what happened to you and I? We
It,
almost
it,
burnt
it well,
up.
it well, yeah, we short circuited.
Exactly.
And every human being has electrical circuit in it. We're highly electric electric.
We are.
And without that, you don't function.
If you haven't taken your bare feet and put it in the ground, in the grass to feel that electrical current, I encourage you to go do that today. Go put your feet on the ground and feel that current come up through your feet. You're electrical. 100%.
Well, you ground, you get rid of you align that.
Exactly.
Here's a very easy one to remember. God produces current, and all current returns back to Him. Now,
That's
how
right.
in what shape it returns back to him is up to you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. All right, so we have a couple of more steps remaining. I think that we need to make this a part two and come back next Monday night and have this
Right.
discussion
We
and
have
finish it out.
all right. So let's just stop right here and then we'll sum up a little bit. Okay. But let me finish. We didn't finish the spiritual armor for attack 3, discouragement. All right.
That is true.
Again,
We
this
did not.
is this is where we're getting tired. We're asking what's the point? Okay. Your body's wearing down and your spirit's wearing down. You've had verbal attacks in attack 1, got a bunch of mockery. Look at those idiots on the wall. They're never going to get it done. Number 2, they introduce fear and physical attacks. And then 3, we're not only dealing with this mentally, we're dealing with it physically. We're also, more importantly, dealing with it spiritually. And this is where the danger is internally to those people who are getting tired, their spirits are low.
Mhm.
Have you ever noticed in your life when you really get galvanized on something, get excited about, know how tired you are, how mentally tired you are, but if your spirit gets excited and you get in that group, and all of a sudden, guess what? You get charged back up. Isn't that true?
Yep.
You get around
Yep.
people that share their
I'm gonna
energy,
say you get around the
and you
people
get
that share.
excited, and you
Yes.
get to talking about things, and all of a sudden, what you were exhausted, now you're not.
Yep. You're motivated, you're inspired, you're feeling that energy.
And that's exactly what Nehemiah addressed right there. He said, come on, let's talk. Let's have a talk. I'm going to invite you. Let's discuss this. Let's create this space. Let's get this on the table. Let's talk. Because here's the mission. And here's the reason. And we're looking at them. And I'm going to bring them in because I want you to be with them because I know you miss them. Let them be a part of this process. All right. But I can tell you what, your children will be safer if we get this done. Everybody in? Yeah, let's do this. But if you don't address the root right then in the spirit, then it's going to drift and it's going to get away and it's going to stop. It's going to get disappointed. Then it's going to lead into mental and physical discouragement and tiredness.
Well,
And you'll
that's
stop.
exactly what happens. That's why we get our health to the point where we get our health is because we've allowed that alignment to
Yeah.
be unaligned and we continue to move in the same direction that takes us down that poor health path. And again, that's everything I speak upon and have been speaking upon. If you don't have your health, you don't have wealth. And if you don't have wealth,
They're all tied together. Everything is a system.
exactly.
And if you disturb one ecosystem, you disturb the rest of the ecosystems.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So that's why
I
it's
mean,
so
it's a very
important.
simple thing. We build all these buildings to house people, and you tear down forests. Well, you just disturb the entire ecosystem. Where do you think the deer, the bear, the bees, and everything else got to go?
That's
We
right.
got to live somewhere too, folks. We can't just run this earth completely, knock everything down. You don't have trees to have oxygen on it, So
We are
we need,
seeming to be on a mission with that. So
yeah, so we need to be good stewards of what we have, and then our land, what God gave us, this earth is entrusted to us.
that's
And
right.
we need to be thinking of this, but we don't. We always think about the little small piece. Well, I've got all this business now. I can build all these houses, which makes me money. But I don't think about. I just took away a lot of land that can produce agriculture that feed the people, and to disturb the ecosystem to where there is no fruit.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
so let me go back to this. I mean, that's on the tangent too, but I mean, what do you really be thinking about these things? Because they apply today just as much as Nehemiah's day as well, and before that. So the spiritual armor in this case for attack 3, all right, discouragement, is the belt of truth, the helmet the helmet of salvation. And why? Truth reminds us why. The truth is, if we don't get this wall up, we're leaving our families exposed to danger, real danger. All right, that's serious, and we need to take it that way. The helmet of salvation again reminds us who are we, who do we belong to, and why it's important that we remain with the one who is helping us get this wall built anyway and providing on it. So stewardship response in this case is strengthen the people, feed them, encourage the heart, not merely look at them as projects or just laborers, because they're not. their people and first develop that relationship. That's what Nehemiah did. Pray first, develop the relationship, get deep in the relationship. Be a bucket sometimes to go down in a well in the heart. And what you pull back up, sometimes it'll enlighten you where the root is of what needs to be addressed. And that's what he did. So the greatest threat in this case was not outside the wall or anybody attacking them. The greatest threat that would really stop them is if they just disbanded because they got discouraged. And that was a real threat. So we'll stop right there for tonight. We have attack 4 and attack 5. And we'll discuss that when we come back in. Then we'll have a follow-up and a little summary that goes with this and how it applies to today. I think we covered that pretty good. But what's different now than then? Nothing. That's what we got.
Aren't you the one that said that we're, I forget how you word it, we're great historians, but we're not good at history?
We live in history, but we're poor historians.
And yet, everything has been continuously the same throughout history, and we don't seem to learn.
The identity is where it starts. The behavior is the after effect of the identity. But humanity always wants to deal with the behavior, but they don't look at the identity where the behavior stands. All right. More importantly is who are you and who do you belong to? Because that's really the deciding factor of your identity.
All right,
if
everyone.
You don't have that right, you're not going to have fruit that you're after.
That's right. Well, we hope you got some beautiful nuggets out of tonight's podcast, and we will resume this conversation next Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. As William said, we'll give you a recap next week. We'll dive into attack 4 and attack 5, and then we'll have a wrap up with some conversation. So make sure you join us next week right here on the Mindful Nuggets podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when we're live. And join us in the conversation because we definitely would love to have your feedback. Plus, we like the conversation. All right, everyone. Have a great evening. We'll see you back next Monday night.
All right. We love you and we appreciate it. And we'll pray for you. Just leave a message. Give us your thoughts. Give us your feedback. And also you impact some things that we will hopefully get to discuss later in this. So this is a journey, folks. And we'd love for you to be a part. Until next Monday, which will be after 2